Hello, you all out there. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Neha Sultana Narayanpet. And in today's video, I'm going to explain one of William Shakespeare's most amusing plus fast paced and brilliantly crafted comedies. Okay. And that is the comedy of errors. Okay. Now imagine this for a moment. Okay. I'll give you a situation. So here you arrive in a city you have never visited before. Suddenly, complete strangers being calling you by name. Okay, and then some warmly welcome you as though they have known you for years. Okay, others become angry with you for things you have never done. Money is handed to you. Wow, unexpectedly. And invitations arrive from people you have, never met. Okay, and no matter how hard you try to make sense of the situation, the confusion only grows bigger and bigger. So what would you do? Would you laugh? Would you panic? Or would you be questioning your own sanity? Well, this is exactly the comedy of, you know sorry, exactly the kind of chaos that Shakespeare creates in the Comedy of Errors. A play overflowing with mistaken identities, hilarious misunderstandings, unexpected encounters, and one astonishing coincidence after another. Okay, but beneath all the laughter and confusion lies a touching story about family, separation, identity, and reunion. And that is what makes this play so much more than a simple comedy. Okay, so before we step into the story itself, however, let us first spend a few moments understanding the play, because the more familiar we are with its background, the easier it becomes to appreciate Shakespeare's craftsmanship and follow the events that unfold. Okay, so here the Comedy of Errors is believed to have been written sometime between 1589 and 1594. Okay, and is considered one of Shakespeare's earliest comedies. And it is also one of his shortest plays, but do not let its length fool you. Okay, within this relatively short play, Shakespeare creates a whirlwind of confusion, humor, suspense, and dramatic irony that keeps the audience entertained from beginning to end. Okay, now let me ask you another question. Can a simply mistake completely change the course of an entire day? Okay, that is the question that you have to answer me in the comment section. Okay, so according to Shakespeare, the answer is yes. And in this play, one mistake, only one mistake, okay, one mistake leads to another and then another until the confusion becomes almost impossible to untangle. Okay, now, before we begin the story, it is important to become familiar with the characters, because once the characters are clear, the entire plot becomes much easier to understand. In fact, whenever you study a Shakespearean play, which I tell in my almost every each single video of Shakespeare's video that I put on my channel, that whenever you study a Shakespearean play, the characters from the foundation of the story. If you understand who they are, what they want, and why they make certain decisions, then following the plot becomes a much more enjoyable experience. Okay, so let us meet the major characters one by one. First, we have Egeon, Egeon. Okay, Egeon is an elderly merchant from Syracuse. He is a loving husband and father who has suffered a heartbreaking tragedy. Okay, his search for his lost family forms the emotional core of the entire play. Okay, so who is Egeon here? He is an elderly merchant from Syracuse. Syracuse is what? Is a it is a place. Okay. So he is a loving husband and a father who has suffered a heartbreaking tragedy. We will we will cover what that tragedy. Okay. And then next we have Antipholus. Antipholus of Syracuse. So he is one of the twin brothers in the story. He's thoughtful and intelligent, adventurous, and curious about the world around him. Who is this? This person is Antipholus of Syracuse. Okay. Then we have Antipholus of Ephesus. Antipholus of Ephesus. Okay. First we had Antipholus of Syracuse, and then we have Antipholus of Ephesus. So who is Ephesus? Antipholus of Ephesus, he is the other twin brother. Okay. Although he looks exactly like his brother, he has grown up in a completely different environment, okay, and has lived an entirely different life. Now, here comes something very important. The two brothers look exactly alike, okay, and Shakespeare uses this resemblance to create much of the confusion in the play, okay. But the confusion does not end there, okay. Each twin brother also has a servant, okay, and those servants are twins as well. Wow, what a story it is. First we have twin brothers who looks exactly, they have the same face, and plus these two brothers have their servant, and they also have they are also the twins. Okay, this brings us to Dromio of Syracuse. Okay, so Dromio, who is Dromio here? Dromio is the servant of Antipholus of Syracuse. Okay, he is loyal, humorous, quick-witted, and constantly finds himself caught in absurd situations. So, what do you mean by absurd situation? I to completely hate absurd situations. Yes. So do let me know in the comment section that what is the meaning of absurdity, absurd situations. Okay. Then we have Dromio of Ephesus. First we had Dromio of Syracuse. Then we have Dromio of Ephesus. So he is the servant of whom? Antipholus of Ephesus. Okay. Antipholus is one person, and that person's servant is Dromio of Ephesus. Okay. So he is the servant of Antipholus of Ephesus. Please keep it in your mind correctly, and please understand it correctly, because this is very confusing. Yes, and looks exactly like his twin brother. Okay, now just pause for a moment and think about this situation. Two identical brothers and two identical servants. Can you already imagine the chaos that is about to unfold? Next, we have Adriana. Adriana, Adriana. Adriana. So, Adriana is the wife of Antipholus of Ephesus. Okay, she is passionate, intelligent, emotional, and deeply devoted to her husband. Okay, then we have Luciana. Okay, first we had Adriana, and then we have Luciana. 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 Okay, Luciana is Adriana's sister. She is gentle, thoughtful, calm, and often serves as the voice of reason. Okay, we also have the Duke of Ephesus. Okay, so the Duke is the ruler of the city. Okay, I hope it is clear. And plays an important role at both the beginning and the conclusion of the play. Okay, and finally we have the abbess. Okay, at first she appears to be a minor character, but as the story progresses, we discover that she is far more important than she initially seems. Okay, so now that we are familiar with the characters, let us finally begin this story. Okay, the play opens in the city of Ephesus, where the city of Ephesus. Okay, immediately Shakespeare presents us with a serious and emotional situation. An elderly merchant named Aegeon has been arrested. Why? Because he comes from Syracuse, a city that is hostile to Ephesus. Okay, according to the law, any merchant from Syracuse who enters Ephesus must either pay a heavy fine or face execution. Okay, unfortunately, Aegeon cannot afford the fine. As a result, his life hangs in the balance. The Duke of Ephesus is curious. Okay, he asks Aegeon why he risked entering the city despite knowing the danger. Okay, who asked this question? Aegeon. Okay, um, Aegeon. The Duke of Ephesus is curious, as I said earlier. Okay, he asked Aegeon. Duke of Ephesus asked the question to Aegeon that why he is, why he risked entering the city, and even though he know that there is a lot of danger over there. Okay, and this is where Aegeon begins telling one of the saddest stories in the play. Many years earlier, Aegeon and his wife were blessed with twin sons. Okay, by a remarkable coincidence, they also adopted twin servant boys who looked exactly alike. Okay, the sons were both named Antipholus. Okay, the servants were both named Romeo. The sons were both named Antipholus. Okay, first we have two identical brothers who look alike exactly. Okay, with each other, they are very same. Almost, not almost completely. They are completely same in their face. Okay, and those two sons' names is Antipholus. Okay, but one belongs to Antipholus of Syracuse, one belongs to Antipholus of Ephesus. Okay, that is the place name now. So here Antipholus, okay, both identical brothers hold the name Antipholus. Okay, and both of them are having a servant, and their name also same, that is Dromio. Everything seemed peaceful and happy, but you know what, fate had other plans. Yeah, while traveling by sea, the family encountered a violent storm. The ship was wrecked, the family was separated. One Antipholus and one Dromio ended up with their mother. The other Antipholus and the other Dromio remained with Aegeon. Okay. So one left with mother, one left with Aegeon. Okay. Now they have separated. Keep it in your mind. Now they are separated. Okay. From that day onward, the family lost all contact with one another. Year passed, and as he grew older, one of Aegeon's sons became determined to find his lost brother. Okay, so when his search proved unsuccessful, Aegeon himself set out to continue the search. Okay, that's why he came to that city. So here, that search has finally brought him to Ephesus. Now think about this for a moment. The play may be called the comedy of errors, okay, but beneath all the laughter lies a deeply emotional story. Yes, a family has been separated for years. A father is desperately searching for his children, and all they want is to find one another again. Right? The Duke feels sympathy for Aegeon. Rather than, ordering his immediate execution, he grants him 1 day to gather the money required to pay the fine. If he fails, he will die. Okay, that was the thing. And with that, Shakespeare launches us into the main action of the play. On the very same day, Antipholus of Syracuse arrives in Ephesus, accompanied by Dromio of Syracuse. Okay, neither of them knows that their identical twins already live in the city. And this is where the confusion begins. Okay, almost immediately, people start mistaking Antipholus of Syracuse for Antipholus of Ephesus. Likewise, um, people, constantly mistake Dromio of Syracuse for Dromio of Ephesus as well. Messages are delivered to the wrong people, money is given to the wrong people, conversations become completely confusing, and misunderstandings begin multiplying at an astonishing rate. Yeah. Now let me ask you something. What happens when everyone believes that they are speaking to the correct person while actually speaking to someone else entirely? Okay, the answer is simple. That is what? That is chaos. And Shakespeare turns that chaos into comedy. Okay, that is why it is named as the comedy of errors. Okay, at one point, Dromio of Ephesus approaches Antipholus of Syracuse and tells him that his wife is waiting for him at home. Wow. Naturally, Antipholus of Syracuse is completely, bewildered. What wife? He's not married. Yet everyone around him seems, convinced that he is. Like, he was like, what is this all? And he was in so much of confusion. He had so much chaos in his mind. Okay, the confusion becomes even greater when Adriana herself welcomes Antipholus of Syracuse into her home, believing him to be her husband. Okay. And then imagine how strange that situation would feel. People you have never met insist that they know you. They invite you to, they invite you into their homes, right? They speak to you as though you have known them for years. And, anyone would be confused, right? Meanwhile, Antipholus of Ephesus experiences an entirely different problem. When he returns home, he discovers that the doors have been locked against him. His own wife refuses to let him enter because she believes he is already inside the house. Naturally, he becomes, furious. After all, he knows the house, belongs to him, right? Yet he cannot enter his own home, right? Now the misunderstandings become increasingly ridiculous. A gold chain is given to the wrong Antipholus. Money changes hands unexpectedly. People accuse one another of dishonesty. Arguments break out. Confusion spreads throughout the city. Okay. And with every new misunderstanding, the audience, laughs because they know the truth while the characters remain completely unaware of what is really happening. This is one of Shakespeare's favorite comic techniques that I also like it. The audience understands the situation, okay? The characters do not. And that difference creates much of the humor. As the story progresses, the confusion becomes, so intense that, several characters begin questioning their own sanity. Some suspect, magic. Others suspect witchcraft. A few even believe that supernatural forces are responsible. Wow. But the real explanation is far simpler. There are two sets of identical twins. That is all. Yet, this simple fact creates enough confusion to drive an entire city into chaos. And eventually, the story moves toward its climax. So, one misunderstanding after another brings all the major characters together. For the first time, the two Antipholuses stand face to face. Oh my god. For the first time, the two Dromios stand face to face. And suddenly, the truth becomes clear. Everyone finally understands the source of the confusion. The long lost twins have unknowingly been living in the same city, but Shakespeare still has one final surprise. The abbess is revealed to be Aegeon's long lost wife. Wow. After years of separation, the families finally reunited. The parents find one another, the brothers find one another, the servants find one another. And the confusion that has dominated the entire play finally comes to an end. Okay. So Aegon's life is saved, the misunderstandings are resolved, the family is reunited, and harmony is restored. Okay, now let us understand the major themes of the play because themes are extremely important. Okay, the first major theme is identity. Okay, that is the main theme. And throughout the play, Shakespeare, explores how easily people can be mistaken for someone else and how closely identity is connected to appearance. Okay, So this is our first theme, that is identity. The second theme is family. At its heart, this is a story about separation and plus reunion. Okay, and the third theme is fate. The characters are repeatedly brought together by circumstances beyond their control. Okay, that is fate. And the fourth theme is appearance versus reality. So people constantly believe one thing while the truth turns out to be something entirely different. And finally, there is the theme of reconciliation. By the end of the play, broken relationships are healed and long lost family members are reunited. Okay, now let me allow to ask one final question. What do you think Shakespeare chose twins as the center of this story? Come on, answer me, please. So the answer is very simple. Twins create endless opportunities for misunderstanding and comedy. At the same time, they allow Shakespeare to explore deeper questions about identity, family, belonging, and human relationships. That is precisely why the comedy of errors continues to entertain audience even today. Yeah. It reminds us that, confusion can sometimes lead to laughter, misunderstandings can, eventually be resolved. And even after years of separation, families can find their way back to one another. Okay. So this was the complete explanation of the comedy of errors. Okay. I hope the story, the characters, and the themes are now completely clear to all of you. Okay. If you enjoyed this explanation and found it helpful, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, and let me know in the comments which Shakespeare play you would like me to explain next. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy reading, keep exploring literature, and I will see you in the next video. Okay.